Good morning, good afternoon, good evening across the country, around the world. Welcome back to Planet Coaster WestCOT. Working on the Valencia, Spain section of the World Showcase. As you can see there, we've got the plaza, the main square with the Neptune's fountain there, all done and completed. By the end of this episode, I do light it. But today, after I fixed these walls, because I didn't realize the castle actually had the angled wall pieces, there we go, we are going to work on a roller coaster, the big ride for this section. Not all the sections of the World Showcase are going to have big rides. I think I'll slip in some dark ride or some flat rides to some of the other ones. Anyway, we'll get to that later. But I wanted this to be a giga coaster, a hyper coaster, one that had lots of swoopy up and downs, but no inversions really, just near inversions, keeping it a little more family friendly. So we've gone with this one. I've forgotten what even type it is. I apologize. And this goes through, well, the queue and the things you see here go through many, many, many iterations because of the building that I end up placing around the station. But for the most part, the queue setup that you see with the zigzags there, the priority pass that goes underneath, and then I think next I do the exit. Nope, I don't do the exit path yet. Okay. But the exit path will loop around underneath as well. This type of coaster, which again, I forgot what it is. I really fail at that, has a cable lift. It's a little different than just standard chain lift. So it makes things a little difficult later on. That's not even the correct height for it, for what I do. But this coaster, here it is. You don't know what it is really. This of course is in Valencia, Spain. And so for a coaster in Spain, I wanted to do one that was themed on Don Quixote. He's not actually a Valencia, Spain story. He's from La Mancha, which is in the southeast of Spain, which is where Valencia is as well. They're neighboring regions-ish. And it's a story, Don Quixote. It's a story that I think most Americans, because this park, would be here in California, that most Americans would be familiar with Don Quixote. So over here, we're building a place, and right where that first turn is, and then where this next turn is, we're going to have some windmills. Because, of course, in the story of Don Quixote, he charged windmills because he thought they were giants. I forget whether he was delusional or if it was his venture. I really bad. I need to read the story again. We are actually going to watch one of the movies because that's somewhere on YouTube as well. But I'll get to that some other time. But yeah, this coaster is Don Quixote, and like I said, he'll charge. There's going to be 4 windmills over here. Those I add toward the very end, though. This coaster was a bit of a challenge. I'm still working on and learning the best way to build coasters to keep the excitement up and up and up and keep things flowing. And some of the things that I personally consider exciting, like I like big helixes that take you down. But that's not something that the game... I mean, I had a helix there, but it's tiny. I want like a big, shallow helix. That gives me a small, very deep helix. But the game doesn't consider that to be terribly exciting, so that's kind of lame. And for the most part, the first half of that coaster, up to that main overbanked turn there you saw in the middle there, that stays pretty much the same. I go through and do a lot of smoothing. There's still 1 or 2 parts I could smooth out more now, even after this is completed. But this goes through many, many iterations of the second half of the coaster to try to get it up to a decent excitement rating. Because here it's like, I think I had it like at 5.11, and that was like the mark I kept trying to go for. But there you can see the heat maps. A lot of it was red and not that terribly exciting. So I tried to do something I saw Silverette do, which are some double downs, which should give a little bit of airtime, but it didn't really do anything to make it better. Increase the speed of the cable lift. That's going to help. That does help a bit. Except now we're down at like 4.7. So I try adding in a big drop that goes underground a little bit into a little dig there, and it was better, but it still wasn't quite where I wanted it to be. Here's a quick little whoop, 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 whoop ride through of this version of the ride, but it's not quite where I want it to be. And part of the problem is that that last chunk, whatever, those last 2 left turns takes so long to get into the station. That was part of what was dragging my overall excitement rating down. And even still, this isn't enough to really be much. Yeah, so I try to make it even deeper, see if that gets you more in your seat, more G's down there. Maybe if that makes it more exciting. It didn't really do it, sadly. So I think, is it at this point I go through? And yeah, at this point I say, you know what, let's try something. No, oh, okay. So we do another overbanked curve. So we have like overbanked curve looping into, or straight into another overbanked curve. And I tried adding that helix, but it just wasn't, it didn't really do it. And the coaster train slowed down so much at that point. There you can see the speed was white. So it really wasn't worth it. And I tried making the helix bigger, a dip, but it just was lame. I think in the end I just go resort to a hill and then another. Oh, well, that's almost it. And that hill makes it better. That hill is more exciting because of the airtime. Smooth. But we end up adding one more hill after that. I think, yeah, here we go. One more. Yeah, oh yes, and I had the block breaks right behind the station, or you know, a piece or two right behind the station, but I've actually now added them on that right angle turn before it. And I think this is about the final version of the coaster. Smooth here and there. There's a few spots where I noticed there were a lot of like lateral G's like there, and so I ended up not at the bottom of that main drop there, so I ended up banking that turn a little more and smoothing it out. There, yes, bank smooth, and that put things up nicely. It's like a 6.4. Everything's green. It's not nauseous. It's great, and that's the coaster we end up with for the Valencia, Spain section. I colored it brown, all these things, and it looks nice and outdoors. And I was quite pleased with it. Watching two trains. Once you get guests going on it, they like it. It's popular. Two trains is apparently what it runs happily at least for the spacing and whatnot that I've made. I suppose I could try to do a little more and get a third train working, and I did try that, but it didn't really work out. Two trains seems to be the ideal number of trains, and you'll have them both out there and none in the station, which isn't 100% ideal, but it works. And there they go. Guests are jumping in line, and they're loving this ride. I'm really pleased with it, and it's something I love about Planet Coaster that you don't really get, or you didn't get in many other park simulator games, is guests will wait in line. Guests here will definitely wait in line for rides, whereas, at Roller Coaster Tycoon, they'd see a line that's, longer than 5 minutes, and they go, nope, no thanks, don't need it. But here, they will wait in a line that is pretty long because the coasters are good. So that's really fun. That's a good touch. I really, really like that. And that queue, again, went through some changes. And the colors just kept not coming back. So here, this is going to be a castle. It's a castle that there really aren't, at least to my knowledge, there really aren't any castles in Valencia proper. It's kind of a city. The most quote castle-y thing there is the Serranos Gates back at the front of the area there. But if you just do a quick Google search of Valencia, Spain, castle, something like that, what I end up building comes up. It's a building that's, kind of this color, this yellowed castle stone color, and it has these 3 tall, slender turrets up in the front and again to the sides. So that's what we go with for this. It's just a nice broad structure that blocks pretty much all view of the ride from the plaza. I think there are a few sight lines once it's done. There are a few sight lines that still need to be, or that could be cleaned up, to not provide views of things. But for the most part, Valencia at this point, at the point when this video is finished, is completed. And this all the queue work, the walls and stuff was I don't want to say a chore, maybe a bit of a chore. It was a thing. Oh yeah, and the queue did weird things too. It kept saying that the queue wasn't complete. I don't know. Oh, I think because at one point I put in like the wrong kind of tile, and it just gave me problems. But we got it all to work out anyway. And I made the mistake, I guess, of the station is not a tile, like a building tile, a wall tile height standard height. It's at a weird height, so a lot of things get kind of offset. There's a lot of different sections have different heights, different layers. Some tunnel entrances, some of those arched portals are lower than they should be. Some are higher than they should be. It ended up being a little weird, but it's okay. It works out. It works for me. Yeah, and there you can see their guests are chilling in the station for quite a while, and that cut was where I tried using a third coaster. It did not work out that well, though. I also experienced a weird thing at one point where it thought the path was like disconnected, but it wasn't. The path was fine. I don't really know what happened, but I had to close it and reopen it. I think maybe even restart the save, reload the save of the game. Oh yeah, on the back side of the castle there, you can see the quote Spanish tile roof. Kind of got a hacienda look to it. But then the front side here, I think now is when I'm getting the turrets going up. So now is when it starts looking like the castle that I Googled and saw the images of there. Fortunately, the castle pieces turn out to work very well for this. It looks a lot, in my opinion, a lot like the castle that I Google searched. I think the crenellations, like those notches, I just put those arrow slots up top, whatever. In the real one, they are bigger and wider spread, but you work with what you got. And then, yeah, there is the further part that kind of juts out lower, and it was there. Yeah, we just wall it all in, and that's kind of becomes the front space for the queue. And we end up putting up, there we go, a roof platform all the way across. And I got it messed up somewhere. I didn't do it. There we go. And that's going to be that platform. Oh, yeah, just going through, checking, make sure we got all the walls all sealed up so there's nothing weird. I still have to change that grass texture you see. I still have to go back and change that to something, as well as changing the whole area of the ride into a grass texture. I'm sorry, into more of a dirt texture instead of just grass, because, it's kind of out in the Mediterranean shrub. It's kind of a shrubbier area. It's not grassy. And that's something I don't do in this episode. And I actually showed a bit of this video to my mother-in-law, who was born in Valencia, who's from Valencia. And she said, good, except it's not green. And I went, yeah, I know. It's a work in progress. But that's something that I'll do at some point, and it'll be correct for the final release of this park. Yeah, I think we end this episode, at least as far as footage goes, with finishing up this castle front, I believe. And then I think you might even see me copy the castle to the back side. So you got those 3 tall turrets there all on the back side. And then I did a lot of work off camera to add lights. Used the like what medieval torches, I think they're called. Maybe used a lot of those, and it lit up the place. And I ended up finishing off the lighting for most of the Valencia area in general, the plaza there, because it had not been lit much. And everything glows nice and bright, and you'll see it at the end. I've got a few minutes of, the ride on, plus a few minutes of cinematic stuff for the ride. Oh yeah, here we go. Copying copying the castle structure to the back side. And unfortunately it was on like the other tile facing, so I had to, but it works out just fine. I really like the look of it. It's a nice blockage, nice station structure. Like I said, a few sight lines here and there to correct, and I will get to that at some point, but I'm kind of ready to move on to the next thing as far as lands go. And that'll be the land that's over on the other side of the future world, so it won't be quite connected to this one. So here I was going to build the windmills, and looking up, Don Quixote windmills, it's got a thatched roof, but the thatched roofs weren't the right size for what I wanted to do. So we end up going with just that, that turret roof, I guess. And it looks all right. I think it looks correct. I'm not a historian, I'm not a Don Quixote expert, but I think it looks correct. And there we go. Yeah, placing him there so it looks like he is, like I said, charging the windmills. We end up placing 4 of these, and they get lit at night, and it ends up working out pretty well, if I do say so myself. There we go. Yeah, and they're all kind of the same structure, or well, they are all the same structure, just sunk into different levels and slightly different facings. These aren't windmills that would like rotate, but they would be facing generally the predominant wind direction. Yeah, and that's it. Another quick ride through. Whoa. Yeah, I want to see what it looked like to charge those windmills there. And oh yeah, I think maintenance guy was working on it. Yeah, and that's about it for the build. Oh yeah, just putting out the the plaza floor here, just because I think that's cool. I even like over there where it got kind of interfered with the grass and the other textures, because you know you might have that at an old castle that is in disrepair. So that's a nice touch. Yep, add a few doors just to make the place look legit. And I think that's going to be it. After this, we go into some cinematic shots. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. If you like, hit subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, pass the word. I will catch you later. I'm back for one quick thing before you get the ride on. We're actually going to talk about it on the lift hill. I did name the coaster. It is Rocinante, which was the name of Don Quixote's horse. It's actually a horse that was like past its prime. It was an old workhorse, but it was his horse. It's also, if you're a sci-fi nerd, the name of the ship from The Expanse, the Rocinante. So here you go up the cable lift here. I hope you enjoy Rocinante.